So this week, Mole, on Gotta Go.
You are sharing with us what dying taught you about living.
Yeah, it sounds deep, and it is, but it's going to be light as well.
Yeah, there's lulls, there's tears, there's a bit of everything.
And there's also a fun story about a tiger.
What were you like as a kid?
Why don't you say what you think I was like as a kid?
So you were such not a goody two-shoes because you weren't like a sucker, but you were just a really good kid. Like a steadfast speech and drama. One of my earliest memories of you is doing a poem in the Gold Coast of Steadford, and you're like, "To wit, to woo, went the little owl one night," and you did.
Yeah, it was like the diction was slightly overdone, but you know.
No, you were always getting
trying
the main.
hard. I was a try hard. I tried hard.
Yeah, you weren't try hard, but you were trying hard. But you would always get the main part in every play, which I somewhat envied. But you did, didn't you?
My highlight of the year was auditioning for the school play.
Yeah.
Like the script would come out and I would study that thing like no piece of paper has ever been studied. Yeah. I would be word perfect. I was just like, let me in that door. I can't wait to audition.
Yeah, and you were a really good studier at school as well. I remember you did maths, physics, science.
To be fair, I hated maths and physics.
And
Favorite
chemistry.
subjects were drama and business.
Yeah, you did all these
And then I don't know why I punished myself with some really hard subjects because I thought it'd be good for my results, which is terrible advice. Like in high school, you should do the things you love, not just the things that teachers are like, do that because you'll get the best score. I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to hate it for 2 years.
Yeah, I just remember you always working hard. And again, a big animal lover as well, I feel like.
Yeah, well, as per last week's episode about Molly, we grew up in family vet practice, which I just love. For me, that was like dream childhood, like going to the surgery. A lot of days of the week we'd end up there, right?
Yeah.
Like even just popping in to see after school.
What was it like to be a big sister to twins?
Definitely there were probably times when I felt a bit left out, like a bit, out of the twin gang. I feel like the best you two ever got on in your childhood was when you were just ganging up on me or like teasing me.
Yeah.
That's when you two were like thick as thieves. But I feel like I was quite close to both of you in different ways and still am.
Because you lived with both of us at different times.
Yeah, in our childhood always, yes. But in our adult life, I lived with Ree for a few years and then we lived together in Sydney for a few years.
And you've always had a strong love for the environment from as young as I can remember.
Yeah. I don't know where it came from. I've tried to think about it over the years, but I do think growing up, in a vet practice, we were always rearing different native animals, weren't we? Like we had a pet kangaroo, we'd be looking after birds all the time. We had parents that were like, we'd have to do the compost and we'd learn about, gardening. I know you hated doing the compost.
Full of spiders.
I feel like you hated a lot of our childhood on reflection.
No, I didn't. It's just... we lived on acreage and
wasn't your thing.
There was aspects of acreage that just didn't jam with me.
Yeah. The dirt, the snakes.
I remember moving to London and I was like, oh, there's no bugs and ants. Great.
I know. I remember Dad, and also Dad would bring snakes home, remember from the surgery, and he'd release them in our garden.
Do you remember when we had a snake in our car for 3 months?
Oh, yeah. So that was a crazy time. We got into the car to go to school one morning and Dad was like, who kicked the box over? And our sister Ree was like, me, so it's just a box. And Dad's like, well, there was a snake in that box. And we're like, So now we knew there was a snake somewhere in the car, but we didn't know where.
But the crazy thing was we still drove to school.
We would drive to school for months with our feet up. And then every now and then a snake skin would just appear on the front dash overnight.
A small snake. We should say it was a small snake.
Yeah, it was like a tree snake. It wouldn't have killed you, but it would have bitten you.
It was a yellow whip snake.
It was enough to be concerned.
Yeah.
But we had that in the car for months, didn't we? It was somewhere in the Land Cruiser. We didn't know where.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Probably under a warm seat.
Yeah. But I think I remember also really being very proud to have parents around a vet practice. We'd be on the way to work every now and then and Dad would get a call from the police being like, can you come get this kangaroo on the road, and we'd pull over and Dad would pull it off. And I just remember thinking what a hero.
Yeah.
I'm like, what a fun start to the day. We've just rescued a kangaroo before school.
I mean, I was too young to remember, but I remember he was called out once to fix a tiger that was with a travelling circus.
Yeah. So the story goes he actually got a phone call late at night, 2 a.m. in the morning, and this guy's in a pub because it's the only, before mobile phones.
Yeah.
He's like, can you come down and see my tiger? It's sick. And Dad's like, do you mean you've got a cat? Like he just thought it was a prank call.
Yeah, a cat called Tiger.
And this guy's like, please, I have called every vet on the Gold Coast. No one will come see my Bengal tiger who is dying.
$100,000 Bengal tiger.
Well,
or something.
Dad's like, well, there's going to be a late night charge. And he's like, how much do you think a freaking Bengal tiger's worth, mate? Like, just get here. And so sure enough, Dad got there and there was this Bengal tiger passed out in the cage. And, you know, as you often have to do with, you know, vet medicine, they call it, like your patient can't talk to you.
Yeah.
Dad had to sort of Sherlock Holmes it a bit.
You have to rule out things, which is funny because this will come up later on in the conversation.
Yes.
as well.
So he took like a history, you know, and he was saying, what have you done today? And he's like, well, we crossed the border.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean? All the camels were in this cage. We sprayed them all for ticks. Dad's like, okay. So all the camels were sprayed in this cage, and then he figured out that the tiger was so bored, poor darling, just went around and licked the whole cage till he poisoned himself.
Yeah, with the...
Yeah. So anyway, it was a good ending. It was a happy ending. Dad saved the tiger.
He was like, well, I'm just going to treat it like a really big cat.
Yeah, exactly. Like I haven't done a lot of tiger medicine before.
Yeah.
But there was also that funny story. They came back the next day and it was still a comatose but coming to. And you remember Dad like famously left Mum in the cage with the tiger as he went off to check the monkeys, and she's like, oh God, this tiger is waking up and I'm holding the drip, and like, she's like, thanks a lot. Yeah. Anyway.
That was funny.
You know, fun times growing up in a vet family.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Dad's first date with Mum, he took her to a cow birth.
Yeah, I reckon he planned that. It was like, look at me, you know, looking all macho.
With my arm up a cow's bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe not. Yeah.
So I remember you would always get us in on your schemes, and I call them schemes because they were schemes.
You mean my forward-thinking business plans?
One that comes to mind is when you used to make us give up our toys, then buy them back, and then you would donate that money to the Worldwide Fund for Nature. Remember? It was called the Green Team.
You willingly gave your toys. Can I just clarify?
It was the Green Team, and would get our neighbour in on it as well, so she had to sell her toys.
I do remember with the Green Team, I got very stuck on the logo and the name, and we spent a lot of time on that. We didn't really get to a lot of saving the world, but, you know, that was the bigger plan.
And if you're listening right now, you could be watching us as well because we're on YouTube. I don't know why it's so exciting, but you can see us in real life, IRL. If you're watching us in IRL right now, hey.
Yeah, you can watch it in the Spotify app or on YouTube. So come say hi.
And hit subscribe.
See us in the
flesh. Tell your friends and family. Thank you. Tell me what happened after you graduated from school.
I went on a gap year, same as you did. A gap year.
Where'd you go?
If you haven't seen the video on my gap year, Google it. It's amazing.
And this is what we're referring to when we say gap year.
This guy goes, this time on my gap year, and just like pays out people that went on a gap year. I went to a little town called Giggleswick.
Cute.
In the middle of North Yorkshire. The next town was Wigglesworth. It was just magical. I just love the kids. Like I was teaching kids ages 3 to 12. They had these like little Yorkshire accents like, oh, that's disgusting, Miss Benjamin. Oh, you know,
Cute.
I want me jumpy. And I just fell in love with the place, the people, had an amazing year.
And then you came back to Brisbane?
Yeah, came back to Brizzy, enrolled in a business law degree or something, Did a year of law just so I could do the law review, which was like the musical sketch comedy show, which was so much fun. Literally changed into law so I could do the comedy show, and then was like, nah, law's too hard. Don't want to do it. I'm out.
Seems a good use of student fees.
Yeah.
So what did you end up with a degree of?
So I did a commerce degree majoring in finance. But at the end of that degree, I did a bunch of subjects in carbon trading and like what that would look like if we bought an emissions trading scheme in. And that's when I got really interested in, okay, climate change, this is huge thing that's going to like affect the entire world. And also for me, it was like it affects every other issue that you care about. Like if you care about domestic violence, it's going to be worse in a hotter, planet with like less resources and blah, blah, blah. If you care about animals, well, they're all going to be affected by climate change. So for me, I sort of dawned on me that was a big apex issue that kind of affected everything else and everyone, so I got really into that. But I was like, I don't want to be a carbon accountant.
Yeah.
I want to tell stories about this that bring people along.
Yeah. And you tried to do, I remember you got like an internship and then you were like, I don't think I want to be doing this anymore.
Yeah, I had an internship at like Deloitte and then one at PwC And I was just like, oh, it just feels going into a corporate office each day. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I just it just felt a bit draining. So instead I went to Africa for a month or two traveling with my then partner who was South African, and just saw the world. And while I was there, this opportunity came up to start teaching speech and drama at a little school. So I thought I'm going to go back to uni, study a film degree, and start a speech and drama school.
Why film?
Well, film for me, it was like I want to tell stories that matter and that can bring people along and help them understand these really complex issues that are really hard to grasp otherwise. If you don't have the time or the energy, let's make it entertaining and bring people along. So my thing was always wanting to make content for change, but do it in an entertaining format.
And then you moved to Sydney and you ended up making content for change.
Yeah, so I ended up, straight out of uni, I got this job working on this sci-fi film, which I got fired from, which was like the most devastating news of my life at the time. But in hindsight, thank God, because it was just like, I was working for people that weren't my people.
Yeah.
And it made me really hungry to go prove myself. And I got a job like first week in Sydney working for this social impact production company that did all the work for these really causes that I loved in climate, renewables, social impact, housing, all the things. And so I was like, I found my happy place. This is my thing.
It was a bit of a toxic workplace.
It was a bit of a tricky, challenging workplace where I, in hindsight, I look back on it, it was like an abusive workplace relationship, really, So it was really challenging in many ways, but I got some really amazing opportunities. Yeah. But definitely my takeout after that job was that no job is ever worth your health. And I always say this, and particularly to women, like men as well, but it's like we bend over backwards, especially when we're young and we want to prove ourselves and you just want that foot in the door. But I worked late nights. We were working through till the wee hours of the morning. We were working weekends and there was just no reason or excuse for that. And I think that was the beginning of my health just starting to deteriorate, really burning myself out, getting exhausted, feeling sort of sick all the time. So, that was sort of the beginning of a downward spiral in my health, I think.
Yeah. Because from there you jumped to Mamamia.
Yeah, well, I actually got a grant to make a documentary on domestic violence for a year.
Great.
Yeah, for the ABC. It was like for up-and-coming directors. So that was great, but really a challenging project because it was really heavy content.
Yeah.
I was talking to young women. I was really interested in – I read the stat that 1 in 3 women will suffer violence at the hand of a partner or someone they love, in their life. And I was like, that's not a random in the street. That's like and I was interested in how does this begin and how can you fall in love with someone that can then go on to hurt you or, in the worst scenarios, kill you. We know a woman a week is killed in Australia and those stats have not budged. So, I went and did that documentary.
That was called Big Bad Love?
Big Bad Love,
yeah.
And Becky Lucas, great, amazing Queensland comedian. She's fantastic. She was the host and went on a journey to discover, like this had happened to a friend of hers and she'd sort of kind of missed it. So it was going on a journey to be like, how does this happen?
And I also just think it's interesting for people listening as well. What were those? Because it was all about those very early warning signs.
Yeah.
What were some of those early warning signs?
Yeah, so it was things like seeing in a partner at the time might be early on, like they talk really, really badly about their ex, for example. She was a crazy, biatch. She was this, she was that. She was, so a lot of that kind of thing, a lot of anger. It could be things like violence and rage, but not directed at you necessarily. It might be at someone when they're driving. It might be at, so it's around you, but it's not being at you. But these are all kind of red flags. Just anything that starts to chip away at your confidence. Commenting on your looks, your
how you dress.
and then one of the big ones is just starting to slowly isolate you away from your friends, like jealousy around spending time with other family, friends. Like I know I've had an incidence of it where a girlfriend, he suddenly just wanted to up and move them to, a different state away from everyone. And at the time that felt all very romantic, exciting. But it did turn out to be an abusive relationship. Not saying that any partner that wants to like travel with you and go somewhere is doing that, but like there is a specific pattern. And the thing that shocked me the most making that documentary was I think we just think, oh, these guys, they can't help it. And they, like some of them, it's just like they're out of control. And I spoke with an expert who had interviewed like 500 abusers that were like basically in prisons that she went in and spoke to them. And she was shocked about actually how deliberate it was and how they totally knew what they were doing, and almost down to the type of woman they would go for. And oftentimes they were going for, it was almost like the more confident, the more, high flying this woman was, it was like the ultimate challenge. So it's sort of a myth that they just go for like women that have, vulnerabilities or self-conscious sort of issues and the scary thing about that is it can happen to anyone and you can miss it because they're manipulative and they can hide it really well until they don't want to anymore. So that was a bit of a shock to me because I think I was just like, they've had issues and they don't know what they're doing. No, there's a spectrum, but at one end of the spectrum, they know exactly what they're doing.
And how many years ago was that?
That I did that doco? Yeah, it was probably about, over 10 years ago.
Yeah, and isn't it, we're still losing a woman a week from violence.
Yeah.
That men
more
are
than
causing.
more than some years it's like 80, 90 women are being murdered by a partner or an ex, which is crazy.
What led you to then work at Mamamia?
Yeah, so I saw the job at Mamamia pop up. A friend sent it to me, executive producer of video, and I remember thinking, I would love that job. I'm not qualified for that job. I don't have what it takes. And this was a male friend of mine, shout out to Dave, who was like, actually, you'd be perfect for this job. You're exactly who they need.
Yeah.
And you could totally go get this job. And that was a real, I think women, we often, you read the job criteria. We know women do this, right?
Yeah.
The research backs it up. We're like, I don't have every single one of those capabilities, so I'm just not going to put my hat in the arena. Whereas a guy will look at a job criteria and be like, yeah, I'd be pretty good at that. Can't do it all, but, whatever.
We always say the perfect example is Kenya. What is it? Kanye West. What's his name?
Kanye West.
Kanye West being like, oh, yeah, I might apply for the presidency.
Yeah, I might run for president. Well, Donald Trump is case in point. Like, not a lot of experience in the realm. Was like, yeah, I can do it. Confidence. So anyway, I applied. I worked really hard on my application and then went in and had to do 3 different interviews. Yeah, and got the job, which was like, and I remember then I got the job and I remember starting the first day and being totally freaked out. I came home and actually cried and was like, I remember called you and I was like, they've given me this job. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so out of my depth. And you had some really good advice for me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Tell me, what did I say?
Like, if you didn't feel out of your depth, there'd be something wrong.
Because I'd been in London doing all these jobs that I was like, I don't even know what the job description is.
Yeah. But you're like, you'll figure it out, And then Dan Illich, who has been a bit of a mentor and friend of mine over the years, is a, producer, director, creative. He had brilliant advice for me and he was like, no one knows what they're doing. We're all winging it. You're going to go in there and you're going to say, it's pilot season. Yeah. We're going to play and figure it out. Because he's like, no one knows what goes viral.
Yeah.
Got the job. Mia Friedman, who started Mamamia and founds it, who was an amazing mentor and just amazing woman to watch in action and just see her. She's such a creative force. And she just, on that first day, was like, your job's to make us famous for video. And I remember being like,
sure.
I don't know what that means.
And the first video you did, how did that go?
Yeah, so we did a couple of videos. I had this amazing team of 4 producers that worked with me, including my work wife, Claire Gerber, but I was just so lucky to work with incredible women. All the women at Mamamia I worked with were incredible. And 6 weeks in, we had our first viral video. It was a very serious video of me wearing heels versus sneakers going about the world. It was split screen.
Yeah.
And it did 20 million views and traveled all around the world. And I think it was their first proper viral video.
Yeah.
So after that point, they were just like, all right, well, go play, have fun. They had a lot of trust in me to figure it out, even though we were just figuring it out day by day.
And you came up with so many viral hits and so many amazing videos.
Yeah, we did. And once again, full credit to the amazing crew of women I worked with, Claire and Nia and Shay and Vicky. And they were just, we had so much fun. And I think that was at the core of it though. We were having fun.
Yeah.
And that led us to create stuff that was fun,
But while you were having fun and doing all this amazing creative stuff, something else was going on.
Yeah, well, I had been at Mamamia for a year and I just felt awful all the time that whole first year. And I very much put it down to, and doctors put it down to, like, you're in a big stressful job.
Yeah.
And, you're just stressed.
Yeah.
And it felt weird to me because I was like, well, this is the least stressful job I've actually had in media.
Yeah.
The work conditions were great.
Yeah.
5 o'clock, the place was clear because women are, they're busy and they're efficient and they all had to go collect kids and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, and there was no expectation to do work in the evenings. Like it was an amazing workplace. But I was like, why do I feel so bad all the time? And so, yeah, I basically had this cough that wouldn't go away. I had really itchy skin. I was having night sweats on and off.
You lost weight.
I just thought I looked, must have been all the sport I was doing, but I was probably the thinnest I'd ever been without really trying.
I thought I looked great. I'm like, you did.
Yeah, I looked great. Turns out, so mum and dad got on my case.
Yeah.
Dad, the vet, but mum was really like, these symptoms are alarming. She was really worried about the night sweats.
Yeah.
And doctors just kept saying, it's probably just hormones. But, I was 31. Like it wasn't like I was going through menopause or something.
It's like mum's intuition.
Yeah, she was like
on.
She was on it. She was so on it. And they insisted I went and saw a hematologist who can look closer at your blood. She sent off some more bloods and then asked me to come in and have a biopsy from a lymph gland. And honestly, I had for like 18 months, I had been like on this dead end, like, and I was so over it, but just felt like, maybe I don't have what it takes to do this job. Maybe I don't have what it takes to live a fast-paced life in Sydney.
Some doctors were telling you to go to a stress clinic, I remember. Yeah.
And this is actually really, really common for women, that their illnesses get put down to mental health conditions, like way more likely than men to have it ascribed to a mental health condition.
Yeah.
I did these tests. She said, come back in 2 weeks and, we'll go from there. And honestly, it was Thursday morning. I remember it so vividly. We had Sophie Monk coming in to debrief on the Bachelorette finale that had been that week, really big, important, content we were making that morning. But that's where my head was at. I was like, how long is this going to take? I need to get into catch a bus, maybe I'll get an Uber, blah, 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 get a coffee on the way. And mum insisted on coming.
Yes, I remember.
Do you remember
that?
to the appointment? And I was like, Mum, I'm too busy. I've got to go to work. Don't bother. She flew down from Queensland. She was there at the appointment with me. And thank God, because I sat down in that appointment and my beautiful doctor, Dr. Bosco, just said, I'm so sorry. But yeah, like your parents were worried about, it's Hodgkin's lymphoma, which I didn't even know what that was, but it was basically it was stage 4 by that point.
And that was a blood cancer.
Blood cancer, yeah. So stage 4 is, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. It was the worst part of the spectrum. I had stage 4 blood cancer and I was riddled with cancer at that point.
Yeah. It was actually the cancer Delta Goodrum had, for people who don't.
Yes, it was.
Who they know it from there.
So the good news was I knew it was like, of all the cancers, like a good recurrence rate. But of course, your first thought is not everyone survives this, No. Am I going to be in that percent?
And I guess what was the next kind of like, you found out you had cancer. What happened next in those next moments?
Well, I remember just the first thought was like complete denial.
Yeah.
I was like, at any minute she's just going to say, sorry, these are someone else's results. Like it's so that moment of like, these are Daryl's test results. You're fine, And it didn't come. And I remember her just saying, I don't want you to Google anything.
No.
We're not even going to talk about treatment today. We're just going to focus on the next 3 steps.
Yeah.
And I come back to that all the time now. When you're overwhelmed, when you're feeling really stressed out, you don't have to solve everything right now. Just think of like, what's the next? What's just one thing I can do right now? And she said, we're going to get a blood test, a heart and lung test, and we're going to get you into the IVF clinic to talk about freezing your eggs and see if we've got time, basically. And I just remember like I couldn't quite grasp, like, is this cancer or like cancer? Like how serious is this? And I remember just saying to her, am I going to lose my hair? And she said, yeah, you will. Yeah. And that's when it really dawned on me, like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like this is serious.
Yeah, I remember you calling me with mum. And we just thought, I knew I was towards the end before you got diagnosed, I was like, something really must be up with her health. Like she's never seems well. Like she's always a bit sick. Yeah. And the fact that mum and dad were getting so worried, I was a bit like, ooh.
Yeah, we've actually never talked about it because like I actually text your best friend to say, hey, could you go see Mole after work just so you could have someone there, so you weren't alone when
it
you
was
heard
actually in the
news?
morning. It was
it? Yeah,
and
before
she
work.
lived a street away, so she was on her way to mine.
Yeah, and I didn't tell her what. I just said, I've got to give Mel some news. Like, could you just go and be with her?
I remember I was getting ready for work and you called me and you told me you said we got some news and it's not what we hoped for. It's cancer. And I remember just being like, what? Cancer? Like, but I also was just like, okay, well, what's like, you're going to be fine. What are the next, like, what happens now?
Yeah. What was that like hearing that news? We've never really talked about it.
I never once ever thought about worst case scenario. It wasn't even a thought.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, like I said, I felt from the get-go I was committed to being as positive as I could and just like finding the joy even in it.
Yeah.
You know, because I thought, like at the back of my mind, I did think if I die, like I don't want my last few months to be a misery, you know, and I don't want it to be a misery for everyone around me. I want it, you know, and I was, you know, it was so wonderful. Like you got on a plane basically and came straight home, and to have you through that time was so amazing. Mum and Dad were incredible. I moved home to Queensland and just lived with them, and it was like just being in a little cocoon. I knew I wanted to be out of the city and away from Sydney and just, you know, in a safe place.
Yeah.
But like I think it was a big part of actually why some friends encouraged me to start documenting the journey.
Yeah.
And it was a big thing, I think, of like, I hope I get through this.
Yeah.
But I might not, you know, and I don't know, it just felt like it gave me some control in a situation I didn't have a lot of control of to start filming and documenting the journey, you know? It was therapeutic, I think, to be able to video log it. And I didn't put it anywhere. I didn't, you know, I didn't know what I would do with it. I was like, maybe I'll make something with it one day. But it just the act of doing it and gathering it was really gave me some kind of sense of control, I think.
So I flew home and then we moved you back to the Gold Coast where you started treatment. I think was it Christmas Eve?
Yeah, it was like 3 days before Christmas.
Yeah. Way to ruin Christmas, Briony.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, this is a real focus pull.
Do you want to tell the story of the first day you started chemo with Mum?
Oh, yeah. So we arrived there and we, you know, Dad's driven me into the front of the hospital and dropping Mum and I off. And I get out of the car and then I just hear this like scream and turn around and Mum's like stuck. She's like cracked. She's like cinched her back getting out of the car and she's like bent over stuck. And so I basically had to like carry Mum into the hospital and she's like wailing. I'm like, way to ruin my big moment, Mum. No. But it was like, it was a really, I often talk about it. It was such a reminder that, because at that time I had long hair still. I'd done my makeup because I was, you know, I was like, I just want to feel good going into this day. And I was like, wow, you just never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
Like anyone looking would think, oh, hey, someone bringing a Mum into treatment. And I was there about to start chemo, you know, and I just thought it never hurts to be a little kinder than you need to be when you meet people. I have to remind myself of that constantly. It's so easy to jump into, you know, judgment mode with anyone. But
reminder, you never know what anyone is going through at any stage.
Everyone is going through stuff. That's like, you know, there's a spectrum.
Yeah.
But the more I live, the more I just am like, wow, everyone's got their own shite going on all the time.
Spoiler alert, you survived.
Yeah, I got through it amazingly. And you were there for the moment.
Yeah.
We went in and saw my specialist and she sat me down and was just like, so you're in remission. And I remembered being like, what does that mean?
We were all like that. We were like, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Like we weren't very cancer literate.
We weren't.
And she said, it means we can't see the cancer in your body. And do you remember we all went outside and we just like linked arms and you, me, Mum and Dad, we just bawled. Like we all just cried,
That was
didn't
the
we?
first time I saw Mum cry.
First time Mum cried, yeah. Because it was such a shock that it was
because you'd been so sick the night before and Mum and I had been chatting and we're like, this hasn't
touched the
good.
sides, yeah.
We're a bit worried that it's not working.
Yeah.
And so when they said that, we were like,
it was a shock, yeah. But I also like, because I go back to that memory a lot. Because I think, you know, I just remember we were out in the sunshine, out the front of the hospital, standing in the sun, just been told you don't have cancer, like you get more time, you know? And I think I really feel now like I'm on bonus time, you know? Everything else at this point is sprinkles on the ice cream.
Yeah.
And I just think that often, like, if you are well and the people you love are well, like that's everything.
Yeah.
And everything else is a bonus. And we get so caught up in the day-to-day. And I do it too. I have to remind myself constantly.
So do I.
You get stressed, you get, you know, and you just, when you actually stop and do a stock take, you're like, I'm well, I'm okay. You know, I'm here, I'm alive. Everything else we can figure out.
Yeah. And it's such a good reminder as well. Like actually the perspective.
Yeah.
And you hear of people, what they go through and you just go, okay, it's an absolute privilege and I'm so grateful to be here.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter if this small thing is annoying me.
I know. And also to look after your body. You know, I think we, particularly as women, we can be so harsh on our bodies. We, you know, particularly post-baby, you know, I hate how we look, you know, and it's like your body is the most amazing gift you will ever be given. Like it gets you through everything that you do in your life. It is your vessel. It's your most amazing instrument for life. And yet we just take them for granted so much.
I love the car analogy you use. Like if you were given one car when you were 18 and they're like, you've only got this car for the rest of your life. Like,
imagine how well you'd look after it.
You look after it so well.
Yeah, you'd put the best fuel in it. You'd be out there polishing it every night.
It's like your body is the same.
And yet we only get this one vehicle for life.
Well, I feel like this is a bit of like we could almost do part 1, part 2 of this episode because you came out, you were in remission.
Yeah.
But then what we learnt later on was how many cancer survivors then suffer from chronic fatigue, and chronic fatigue then kind of hit you.
Yeah. So you expect that you'll be feeling pretty rubbish after chemo. Like I had very intense chemo as well.
Yeah.
Because I was young and healthy. They were like, let's smash this so it never comes back. I was like, sounds good.
Some of those
sounds terrible, but sounds good.
Some of those tablets we would give you, we had to wear a pair of gloves, pour it into a cup, and then give it to you. Like
so
we
you
couldn't
didn't
even touch it, and that's what you're putting in your body.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Like we couldn't even use the same toilet either. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Because the chemicals coming out of you were so strong.
Oh my God. It's crazy, isn't it, when you think about it? I do think we'll look back one day and just think, wow, that was such a violent treatment. I'm grateful for it. It was the best treatment available to me right now. But shout out to the amazing medical researchers and scientists that are, improving these cures and treatments day by day. But so you expect to feel rubbish after doing that. And then, but I, for me, I sort of hit 18 months, 2 years after treatment, and I still felt like I felt as bad as I did before I got the cancer.
Yeah.
And that's when basically, the doctor told me like, you've got chronic fatigue, because fatigue that lasts for more than 6 months basically is characterized as chronic fatigue, but no one can really tell you how to fix it, what to do. There's no clear treatment plan. And so in many ways, that time of my life was mentally a lot more challenging because at least with chemo, it's awful, but you know how long, you know when, you got a schedule and then you're done. Whereas chronic fatigue, they literally say to you, well, you might have this for the rest of your life. And you're like, oh my.
And I feel like when you were going through chemo, like everyone was checking in, how's Briony?
Yeah. And they were doing beautiful things, like sending gifts, but you're over it and people are then like, all right, off you go, live your life.
And you're like, you've just had this huge experience, life-changing experience.
Yeah.
You can't really go back to living normal life after that.
No, and I think for most people actually that experience a seismic sort of shock in their life, be it grief, be it divorce, be it, losing someone you love, it's actually after, because what I've since learned is when you're in it, you can't actually process it.
Yeah.
So it was when I finished cancer, you finally get time to sit with it and process it. And that's when like it gets really tough. I found that the hardest in many ways.
Yeah.
But actually speaking with a beautiful friend of mine, Emily Sommers, who I met, who is the founder of Bravery Co. She makes beautiful headscarves for women going through cancer. She just said, oh yeah, right, like 100% of people feel like that after cancer. And knowing that it was actually normal helped a lot.
Yeah.
Once she's like, oh yeah, God, I felt like that. I was like, oh, okay, I'm normal. Like this is okay to feel not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember I'd wake you up in the mornings. They'd be like, hey, B, how you feeling? You just be like, I'm so tired. I can't get out of bed.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really demoralizing
I moved back home
time.
From London, but you were just so tired. And
I tried everything. Hyperbaric oxygen chambers were quite good. That gave me a little pep. I went and saw this great guy called Garth who gave me like gut health stuff and supplements that helped. But it wasn't until someone recommended that I do the lightning process that things really changed.
And what is that?
Yeah, so it sounded too good to be true. I was speaking to a woman who was like, I was basically bedbound, could only walk 50 meters in a go without needing to rest. Did the lightning process, and in 3 days I was like fixed. And I was thinking, this just sounds crazy. So I was a bit skeptical, but I booked a chat with this woman called Liz Allen, who's a lightning coach practitioner, and she changed my life. It's no exaggeration to say she changed my life. In 3 days, it was the most incredible turnaround, because basically, you know, in modern medicine, we treat the mind and we treat the body. And the whole idea of the lightning process is like they're completely connected. And what I didn't realize is stressing about getting sick again was keeping me sick, because it was flooding my body with cortisol, stress hormone. You can't recover when you've got cortisol flooded in your system. You can't digest your food properly. You can't sleep well. So I was keeping myself sort of stuck. And I never forget, the first thing she said to me was, how long have you been feeling like this? And I said, oh, about 7 years, expecting she'd be like, you poor thing, that's terrible.
Oh my God.
And instead, she said something that really shocked me. She just said, oh, so you've been really well for 80% of your life. I remember just bursting into tears, because I realized I didn't see myself as a well person anymore. I saw myself as a sick person.
Yeah.
And she made me realize I'm a really well person. I'm innately healthy, but I'd been experiencing a dip in health.
Yeah.
And that really started to change everything. Long story short, if you've got anything chronic, go do it. If you're, you know, suffering from anxiety, depression, all these sort of things, the lightning process can help. It's a step-by-step process to help you coach yourself back to how you feel.
Because I remember you got home and you ran for 50 days straight after that. And I very selfishly was like, oh my God, I've got my old sister back.
I know. I remember we had that, like you actually teared up the third day I came home. You're like, you seem like a different person.
You were a different person.
Yeah. And I just, in many ways, what the lightning process helped me to do is it took all the fear away. And I was like, I'm not going to get sick anymore. And if I do, I can get myself out of it.
Yeah.
So they give you a toolkit.
And you still use elements of that today, don't you?
I do. And I've just started doing some sessions with Liz again. Yeah. Crazily the other day, I jumped on a call with her and I had this terrible mastitis from breastfeeding. I had this raging red boobie. Sorry, it's graphic. It was dripping milk. It was the worst mastitis I'd ever had. And I just said to her, oh yeah, I've got to go get some antibiotics. That's just a given. And she's like, is it a given? Like your body right now has an immune response to something that it doesn't need to have. Have you reminded your body of its amazing ability to heal? And I was like, no. And then I was like, I got through cancer. I recovered from chronic fatigue. I could probably apply these skills, you know, to this. And anyway, she talked me through a process. We visualized changing how it looked and felt. And she said, how long is it going to take to heal? I said 2 days. And 2 days to the hour, it was gone. Unbelievable. Wow. You know, the power actually that we have. Our body is amazing at healing itself. We just have to get out of its way sometimes.
Love that. Okay, now let's just jump to when you met the love of your life. Now, obviously, in our previous episode, we've talked about it, but when did it all begin with your... Because you guys are like so perfect for each other. Like you are him and he is her.
I met him on World Environment Day. It was at a climate fundraiser. I just walked into this room and he was standing there in the corridor talking to someone, and I remember just feeling like, where have you been my whole life?
Yeah.
That was my first thought. And I would find out a year later when we finally got together and went on our first date. He was like, that first moment I saw you, my heart just jumped a beat, like it stopped. So we just both had that immediate feeling. It was just like an energy thing. And he was talking to Costa from Gardening Australia at the time. I was like, hi, Costa. And we just had this great chat. But yeah, he was just my dream man.
Next minute, 2 little cute babies.
Well, yeah, a bit of time passed.
Not really.
We dated. He moved in with both of us with all his artwork. And
no, it was more like next minute you were pregnant.
Yeah, well, you know, it was interesting. I dated guys previously that were like, oh, I don't know. Like I'm 42. I still don't know if I want to have kids.
Yeah.
Byron, the first date, I was like, I don't want to feck around with that anymore. I was like, hey, do you want to have kids? He's like, just so you know, I'm clucky AF.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's interesting that when it's the right person,
Yeah.
it's just easy. It doesn't have to feel hard.
No.
I was like, this is how it should feel. It
Yeah.
should just feel easy. And I actually think that's the best sign of a good relationship.
Yeah.
You know, we think it's like this tortured love and like not knowing where you sit with someone and it all just feeling exciting. It's actually just someone that makes you just feel you can completely be yourself around.
No questions.
And it feels easy from the get-go. But like amazing, but easy.
Yeah.
I just never doubted it for a second.
I feel like that's sister advice you always gave me. You're kind of like, if someone wants to be in a relationship with you, they will be like,
yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
It'll be easy.
It doesn't have to be this hard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. If you're questioning it, it's probably not right.
Yeah. Anyway, I just like honestly pinch myself every day. He's just the best. And he's so fun. I think that's the other biggest thing. It's like marry someone who is really fun. Like he makes going to the supermarket genuinely quite fun.
Yeah. What is it? Marry someone funny and make your own money.
Yeah.
And you've got two beautiful little boys.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm very biased, but they are just darlings.
I call them my joy boys. They're very fun when they're not trying to hurt each other.
Yeah. It's a lot lately.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, toddler life. But yeah, they're my joy boys. And I do like from the experience of cancer and going through all of that, I do try really hard to drink them in every day and be present to it. And, you know, I think ultimately the biggest learning and takeaway from that whole whirlwind that was cancer is that we get one life. We don't know how long we get, but you want to do something purposeful with your time on earth. And for me, it was like the real comeback to climate moment. Like for me, climate change has always been my thing, you know, saving the environment, looking after these beautiful animals that we inhabit this earth with. But it was interesting that going through cancer, it really made me refocus on that. And that's what led me to meeting Byron because he works in climate and I wouldn't really have met him if I hadn't been through that winding pathway.
Yeah.
So like, would I go back and do it again? No. But I am the first person to say really good things can come out of awful times.
Yeah.
And now when I'm doubting anything that I've done in my life, actually the career pathway I took or what I've done with my life, I stop in my tracks because I'm like, it all led me to here.
Yeah.
To this beautiful man, to these beautiful boys, and I wouldn't take any of it back.
Love that. Oh,
Speaking of those beautiful boys, I got to get back to them.
I know. I'm
granddad's on duty.
I can hear my child crying in the background with the babysitter, so I need to go as well.
Yeah, we've got to go. But thanks for talking it through.
But quickly, Briony, what has got to go?
What's got to go is ranty old men on the internet.
Yep.
So I shared a video the other day. It's called Sexiest Man in the World. I made it when I was at Mamamia. And it's basically just being like, do you know what's really hot in a partner? Someone that shares the mental load, who does forward planning, who like helps around the house, that unpacks a dishwasher and doesn't tell you that they've done it. And it's gone really viral again. But of course, you know, old mate Peter, some old bloke's got to come in, doesn't he, and be like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
You know, if you made the opposite, if we made a video about how women need to be hot, that would be terrible. I'm like, yeah, not the same thing, Trevor. And also this guy, Barry, whatever his name is, Peter. So yeah, just old blokes on the internet. Can we just cut them off social media? I don't think we need their commentary anymore. They've had all of human history. They've got to go.
Yeah, look how they've left the place.
They don't have to go. Can I just clarify? I'm not saying they have to go. They've just got to go off social media.
Okay, what's got to go for me? Because we've been talking about something very deep. I'm going to talk about something very shallow. So I was staying at a hotel on the weekend in Melbourne for a wedding and hop on to the movie channel. You know, I'm so excited. I'm there. I've got my baby. She's finally asleep. I'm going to watch myself a little movie. And you have to pay for it, $25.
What? $25?
I'm like, mate, I'm not paying for that. I'll just watch Netflix. Anyway, paying for movies in nice hotels, that's got to go. Come on, just include it. Give us a free minibar, include the movie. Come on.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's that motel that we learn about it's this crappy motel near Disneyland, but it's booked out year round because they have, by the pool, they have a popsicle hotline where kids can just ring up this popsicle and they get unlimited popsicles, like, which could probably cost the hotel like $1,000 a year.
I know.
And they do, you get free laundry and they're just booked out year round. I'm like, that is a great business lesson.
And honestly, when you think about the marketing spend that like these big hotels do, I'm like, just put it into the minibar and give it a free minibar.
Free minibar.
That will
you'll
get
be
me
booked out
every time. Anyway, that's got to go.